Hello, Empty Bottle. Thank you all so much for coming out to the Chicago Humanities Festival. This is James Spooner, everybody. James Spooner is a documentarian, a writer, an artist, a tattooist, a dad, a bon vivant, a man about town, and he's an author of The High Desert, which is the reason for the season, why we're all here today. It's a great memoir that, even as a Midwestern kid who's maybe a little tiny bit younger than you, I got it, like on a very deep level. James, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Right on. Thanks for having me. And thank you all for coming. I
Yeah,
really appreciate
seriously,
it.
for sure. We've got actual punk rock coming up, but we're going to talk about punk rock for a while, which is always a worthwhile thing to do. James, you have been such a, what's that?
Should we play the trailer?
Oh yeah, let's play the trailer. This is a rare book that comes with a trailer. It's like the MCU of graphic novel memoirs.
Yeah. So just to know what you're all here for and excited about.
That's you.
I've been punk most of my life. Strangely, it all started in the desert. I wanted to write a book about the first year I found punk, but it ended up being about so many other things. I had dreams like any other kid. Meet a girl, be a rock star, but there were a lot of roadblocks. Between the white racists and the black gangbangers, my options felt impossible. Until I met Ty. He introduced me to punk rock and changed my life forever.
Is there anybody there? Was you out on Saturday night? And what do you know? I know I'm around. Guitar sound, sound like nothing at all. What are you playing around and moving behind? Oh, are you gay? Must such a TV show. You love saying
All right, you get the idea.
Fantastic. If you just made a festival of the people who wrote blurbs for your book, I would pay $85 for it. What I know about that part of the country, the high desert, or just that part of Southern California, is pretty much Caius and Queens of the Stone Age, and like Coachella, and those giant windmilly things that I'm positive are sentient at night when we're all sleeping. But I cannot imagine living there as a black person, even in 2022, but in the early 1990s. This paints a great picture, but I'd like you to paint us all a picture of what it was like to move into that kind of environment.
Okay, well, all the places you just mentioned are like far more cultural than the little town that I lived in. I lived in Apple Valley, which is next to Victorville.
Oh.
And the only reason you would know of Victorville is if you were driving from Las Vegas to LA and you needed to get gas. So, you know, it was there was not a lot of culture there. There was nothing for kids to do besides like dirt bike and do drugs. And so like, you know, when this book takes place in my entry into 8th grade, I was like a new kid in the school, and I was skateboarding, but it was far too windy and sandy to like actually skateboard anywhere. So, you know, and I saw, like you just saw, I saw this punk rocker who happened to be black, and it was like, that is what, you know, like I think we all have that moment where we can be like, oh yeah, that punk, yeah, what that guy is, that sounds, you know. And because he was black, I was under the false, like, idea that this was like for everybody, you know. But I lived in this small town where all the rest of the scene were Nazi punks and Nazi skins. So, you know, even like the cool kids were also kind of racist. Like, not even kind of racist. They were like swastikas on their trapper keeper, you know. And we just had to deal, you know. We had to like, you know, and if you remember back to what it was like to be 13, like,
oh, it sucked.
You're still also pulling in what is normal, you know? So in this school, like kids with swastikas on their trapper keeper was normal. So I wasn't like, oh God, this is so offensive, because I just internalized it, you know, something wrong with me.
Yeah.
You know?
And at that age, and you say this a few times in the book, you didn't have the language, you didn't have the emotional maturity to kind of unpack all of that.
Yeah, who does?
I mean, not me, not at my big age still, but, and you came from a home where I think a lot of us can relate. We were the first kind of like unparented generation. Our parents did the best they could, but for the most part, they were busy just trying to put food on the table. And it's difficult to navigate this scene, period, as a new kid in school, but it's definitely difficult as a black child of a white mother.
Yes. My parents were divorced. My dad was not really around. And so, like, my mom was left to do the best she could. And, you know, I'm critical of her in the book, but I'm also forgiving, because there are two voices. There's what's happening in the moment, and then in these black boxes is like me as an adult looking back, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, even my mom, after reading it, was like, you know, that's fair. You know? Yeah.
I love a self-aware parent. I was going to ask how the people in the book have received it. We talk about Ty, who we get introduced to in the trailer, your first kind of, I don't know, peer mentor, I think might be a good word.
Yeah.
We meet folks like Melody, who's, you know, the coolest girl you know at school. We meet all sorts of people in New York City. Are you still in touch with these folks? How do they perceive themselves?
Yeah, well, so with the people in the desert, I completely lost touch with them until I started writing this book, because when I was, just for the sake of making things easier for the reader, I call myself James in the book, but back then I went by my government name, and so people wouldn't even know how to find me on Facebook or anything, you know. So it was when I made the book, or when I started making the book, I started reaching out, looking for people, and you know, finding out that the people who left, they turned out all right. People who stayed,
not so much. Yeah. And there were definite, you know, just because this small town happens to be warm all the time doesn't mean that it's not, these kind of small town things aren't applicable across the states. Yeah. I think there were varying levels of desire to get the hell out of Apple Valley. Did the people who wanted to get to?
Yeah, I mean, I think that though this book is called The High Desert, it's definitely I feel like most of America is the high desert, you know? It's like we're all living in these small towns, except for those lucky enough to live in the like 6 big cities, you know? So some of them got out, you know? And some of them got out too late, you know? And I think it's, even when you read the book and you see like who's kind of got their head on straight and who's like going off into the wrong path, there's nothing to save them, you know, and there's nothing I was lucky I got out, you know.
Yeah.
Should I read something?
Yeah, I want to hear some of it. Do you want to? You should hear some of it.
Okay, so so I'm just gonna like read a short section from the book. This is me entering school for the first day of school, all right? The great thing about going to a new school is you get to completely start over. No one had to know that I was a punching bag the year before. Whoa, everyone's hooking up. Oof. Watch it, buckwheat. You bumped into me. Fresh starts are overrated. Minutes later, Crips, cuz, you should join up. Nah, I'm straight. This school was different from the last one. The kids, the customs, the subculture were all hard to navigate. So was the campus. Where the hell is Building C? Shh. Nice. Jesus. Troy, I got my eye on you. Now leave that boy alone and go to class. Yo, my man. Out of the way! I couldn't yet appreciate the significance of this moment. A gangbanger calling me from one corner, and this black punk rocker barreling towards me out of the other. Sorry, dude. Ha ha, monkey jump. Let a nigga jump on me like that. Watching this brown-skinned, spiky-haired kid jump on his friends like that stirred something in me. His dismissal of the black status quo gave me a kind of permission. I didn't know it yet, but I was staring into my future. Yeah, that's it.
This scene is very early in the book. Yes, applause.
Thanks. It's my first time reading it aloud, so, you know, maybe I'll get voices later on, you know, getting an early draft.
This happens very early in the book. This is kind of the first turning point that we get to see you go through. And when you're in 8th grade, whether or not you're in a new school or whatever, you are trying to reinvent yourself. You are just swimming blindly through adolescence, just hormones. And no, I think that's it, just hormones. And everything seems so important. Everything seems so life or death at that point. Even the tiniest things, especially when you're trying to figure out who you are. Skate culture lends itself to punk rock. And, you know, later on down the line, we'd get like skate hip hop scenes and things like that. But when you're here at this point, this bridge from skate to punk, what were you listening to? What were you, you know, kind of glomming onto culturally?
Well, so when I was a little bit younger than this, I listened to hip hop. Hip hop of the time, commercial stuff, you know, Run DMC, the Fat Boys, you know, just kind of like very like easy, digestible stuff. But when I heard punk through skateboard videos, it definitely like stirred something in me, you know? So those first, you know, my first records were like probably a lot of your first records, you know? It was Black Flag and Descendants and Dead Milkmen, you know?
Can't go wrong there.
That's what was available at the Sam Goody, you know?
And there's a panel in the book where you're buying Nevermind the Buzzcocks, I think it is, and
Bullocks.
Thank you so much. We just heard the Buzzcocks on the thing, but and the employee, the record store employee, is like, "Hey, nice pick. Is there a bigger compliment to like a 13-year-old
yeah.
than the record store employee like giving you the seal of approval?"
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely like, there's a scene in the book where I'm in a record store and there's like, this is in Venice Beach, and there's like some punks looking through the record bins, and I'm just like, damn, I wish I could ask them what to get, but like, you want to be like a loser who's like, I don't know anything about this. You know?
Even though you're literally a child.
Loser who doesn't know anything about, Kids today have it so easy with the algorithm, they just need to know one band and then the rest,
I mean, I very, very much remember walking into a Music Land and handing over a copy of Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime. And the guy behind the counter just being like, "Are you sure this is what you... Do you not want Queen?" And I was like, well, both, if you got them. But I was looking for that kind of validation and never really got it. Were you ever confronted by that kind of confusion in your adolescence, trying to just absorb all of this stuff, and people were just like, are you sure this is what you want, son?
Yeah, I mean, I think the bigger thing that most like young kids are is like you're fronting like you know what you're talking about until you actually do,
Yeah.
So, and you don't want to like acknowledge that like, okay, so there's this like amazing video. While I was working on this this project, there was a local band called I can't even remember what they're called, but I looked them up on YouTube, and I looked them on Google, and there was one mention of them in the whole entire Google, and it was this YouTube video of them performing at my first punk show.
Like, that you attended.
The first one that I ever went to. So I was like, holy shit. Like, so I watched it, and like 8 minutes in, the guy who's filming it gets bored of the band and starts walking around. And he stops right in front of me and my friend and starts talking to us. So this was like a fully like, holy shit, like proof of life. I actually, like, I was really there, And he says, what are your favorite bands? And it was like, I'm literally like, the Sex Pistols, Minor Threat, like, I mean, it's hard enough to do when you actually know about shit, but when you really don't.
On your own spot, because the worst thing anyone can call you is a poser.
Yes, that's the worst. So, yeah, I mean, I was gonna think of some other pretty terrible things that people.
I mean, okay, maybe it's not the worst thing someone can call you.
Yeah.
And I think we've probably both been called way worse things than posers in our lives. But, when you're at a show and you're trying to, impress girls or not be lame to your friends, your bandmates, they're throwing the P word around? Come on now, that's not cool. And we're just all learning. And then you went on ahead and joined a band in a very punk rock way, in that you had no idea how to play your instrument before being recruited to...
Yeah, I mean, isn't that everyone? So it's just like, hey, you want to be in a band? Yeah. Okay, well, I have a guitar. You play a bass, and I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know what the difference is, but yeah.
I love the chapter where you go to a music store, like a music instrument store, and are just looking for something in your price range. You're like, what about that? And they're like, honey, that's a guitar.
Yeah.
That's not what you're looking for. And that's the punk rock ethos, right? Like, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, and I came to that ethos as a filmmaker and as a graphic novelist. It was just like that very same thing, like you hear the Ramones and you're like, I think I could do that. I read a graphic novel and I'm like, I think I can do that.
Yeah, I was going to ask why a graphic novel when you're very, verbose and great at talking and great at writing. We've seen you make movies. We've, read your words and things before. Why was this something? Also, this seems really hard. Like, not just writing, but now you're drawing the whole thing. I'm sorry to your mental health during this process.
Lockdown was the best for me. Like, I nailed it.
We've got some more slides here to show folks, and I want to make sure that everybody gets what they need out of this, because this is such an amazing journey that you're taking us on.
Thanks. All right, well, okay, so let's try this with some voices, all right?
Oh, do you want any background? It's so windy.
Okay. For generations, black folks have been filling in all the historical omissions from public school education and deconstructing the nightly news at barbershops and salons, all while setting countless trends and creating political statements with their hair. None of this was happening at the Victor Valley Mall Supercuts, so Ty and I began a weekly ritual that later connected to the larger Black American experience. What are you guys doing in there? Nothing, God. Dude, your mom needs to loosen up. Tell me about it. Hey, it's totally working. Yeah, man, either this or a perm. Do you ever worry about people thinking you're a poser, because of being black? Those rednecks yelling at us in the street and stuff? Whatevs. My sister took me to Red Hot Chili Peppers a few years ago, and Fishbone opened. I don't care how big they are. Fishbone blew the Peppers away. Yeah? Who do you think started rock and roll? My dad used to say they're all playing Chuck Berry riffs. I never thought of it like that. Whatever, man. You gonna do this or what? Later, Afro. Hells yeah, so punk. I was shocked to find out that Elvis, the king, never wrote an original record. Some of Led Zeppelin's biggest hits were plagiarized, and the first rock and roll songs were written by a queer black woman, Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Rock and roll is a black American legacy. Punk rock is black music.
Amen. I think so many of us have that light bulb moment where we are just like, wait a second, those guys were assholes. I mean, of course, as an adult, it makes sense that this art form was stolen from black folks because they all are. But as a kid, when you don't see anybody who looks like you, but maybe a couple of folks, it's really a revelation.
Yeah.
And also, Fishbone does blow the Chili Peppers away, still to this day. Still to this day. There's such an important relationship here in that last slide. I'm not talking about the one between you and your mom or you and Ty. I'm talking about the relationship between black people and their hair.
Yeah.
And the act of defiance that it sometimes feels like to straighten it or shave it off or turn it into something other than how it just grows out of your head naturally it's a journey for everybody that we all go through until, the Lord says we can't have hair anymore.
Oh,
sorry about it, brother.
Got a lot of hats. Yeah, I mean, I think there is like this love-hate relationship that many black people have with their hair. It's not like a new conversation or anything. And I found it to be like a really poignant moment in my late 20s when I finally just like grew out my hair. Like I didn't have dreads, I didn't have a perm, I didn't have any color. I just like had the hair growing out of my head.
Yeah.
And I was just like, at one point it was curly and it was long and I was just like, oh, like I have like that like mixed girl hair. I didn't even know.
The detangling brush is just running itself so smooth.
Yeah, like I just didn't know because because I had a white mom, so I was just like brushing it back like into this like poof with no product, and then I got into punk rock,
Yeah.
So it was like straightening and perms and color and dreads and all this shit and so I had like a good like year and a half or two with like the hair that grew out of my head, and then I like started losing my hair. You know.
God's cruelest joke. Well, eventually, you get to make a trip that changes your whole outlook, your whole life, really.
Yeah, let's do that one instead.
Let's check it out. Christmas with Dad in New York City.
Yeah, so just to set this up, my dad lived in New York, and you know, I got to go out there. I was like all amped to like, I hadn't seen him for many years, and I was like, you know, it's gonna be this moment where we connect, and really he just like did what his normal routine, and I was just at home, you know, like watching TV. And then my mom kept telling me like about the village, you know, Greenwich Village, the village. And so I asked him to take me there. And I had like $100 I got for Christmas, and I was like dead set I was gonna get some Doc Martens, you know? So we went to the village, we buy the boots, and this guy who worked at the store who's black, he was like, yo, you know, if you wanna hang out until after we get out of work, like we could hang. So my dad just like left me with this guy with green hair.
That was the whole thing that, I mean, I'm not a parent myself. You are. And
the answer is no.
But, yeah, I was going to say, would you? No.
But, so anyway, so he was still at work. So I had like a few hours I had to kill in the East Village in 1990. So I'm just walking around, and I meet another punk, and then she just is like laying some shit down on me. So this is what this is about. Do I do this like this? Yeah, okay. People get so caught up in their personal politics. You're black, so you care about civil rights, but you're a man, so feminism goes over your head. Those gay dudes over there care about equality for us queers, but probably don't get two shits about my Dominican family. They're gentrifying out of this neighborhood. It's all connected. If one's oppressed, we're all oppressed. That's why I include animals in my politics. Animal agriculture, slavery, the prison system, unbridled capitalism is designed to crush who it can. You just need to connect the dots. Punks have been pushing intersectional politics since the 80s, exemplified by the DIY venue Gilman Street's front door that reads, no racism, no sexism, no homophobia. Punk positioned me to listen. Oh, and don't follow women on the street. You're a threat. I'm not. You got a dick? Yeah? You're a threat. Know this. Sorry about just be an ally. Okay, so I get what you're saying, but like, was Martin Luther King, what do you call it, vegan? No, but he probably would have been if they didn't assassinate him in '68. But I get your question. Obviously, there's a disconnect. That's why equality is coming so slowly. We got to dismantle all oppression. Come on. That's the end of that.
I mean, hands together for that woman who took a 13, 14-year-old boy and was just like, listen, kid, here's how the fuck it is.
Yeah, I mean, this meeting her was definitely like a light switch moment in my punk rock journey, and definitely took it from like, you know, this nihilistic breaking bottles, like, you know, fuck yeah, like Sid Vicious, to like, oh, this can actually be applied to life, and you know, kind of set me on the journey, set my course for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I wish that we could, I don't know how we would do this logistically, but if we could get every 13-year-old boy in the world to talk to this lady, it would be a much better place to live for all of us. And that's such an important point in your life. You're a sponge.
Yeah.
And if something like that you learn in New York and you can bring it back to the small town in California, and if one person listens to you and gets it,
Well, I mean, I think that, that's the thing is, this book is like really my love letter to punk and all of those people who really did that for me, because I can in turn do that for other people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
and
that's what I did with Afro-punk, and that's what this book aims to do, is like, reach into it. It's positioned as a book for adults, but like my 12-year-old read it, and when she was done, she was like, relatable, you know.
Do you think it also kind of, I don't know, explained some things about her dad to her, made you more relatable?
Yeah, I mean, that it's a whole other story, but I definitely, I'm definitely in a better place in her mind than my parents were in mine. Like, she can actually ask my opinion about stuff, and I can tell her about bands. I can also like tell her that like every human with a penis is a threat,
Yeah.
like, and she can, that's information that will be useful as she grows up.
Oh yeah, I think the 13-year-olds now are smarter somehow than we were. They have all the information at their fingertips, and I feel like every time I've tried to like talk to one of my nieces or cousins about things that I wish I'd known when I was their age, they're like, yeah, duh. It's like, okay, well, let me shut up. We've got one more slide here that I want to get to that really has you leaning into it. This was one of my favorite scenes in the book.
Okay, so this is actually just before I go to New York, so we did a little out of order. But basically, my band is about to perform at a party.
First show ever.
First show, 3 songs. Let's fucking go. And but it's a party like, it's a bunch of like squares and like the regular kids, right? Normies. And and there was this one girl who had a crush on me, and in turn, like, she liked me, so then I guess I like her. But her friends were like not having it. They could not. You can't fuck with that guy because he's weird. All right. One second. Okay. Sorry my friends are being such bitches. And Derek, that guy.
There's Derek.
He's not that bad. You seem cool. What's their problem anyway? I don't know. I guess they just think you're weird. I'm sorry. Good. A wave of defiance washed over me. I was weird. I was different. It finally clicked. There wasn't anything wrong with me. In fact, maybe there was something wrong with them. I am weird.
I loved that for you. I was internally cheering, because I was reading this book in bed and I didn't want to wake up the dog, but I was internally cheering for you getting to this point. The struggle to self-acceptance is real. And when your acceptance finally starts to outweigh this internalized everything, hatred, then I think that's a huge win for a kid, or anybody.
For sure. Hopefully we've all gotten there by now.
Hopefully we've all gotten there. And that's the kind of thing that in 2022 we're so much more accepting of, I feel like, in mainstream society. The weirdos are taking over. We've got one of the biggest television shows in the world is about drag queens. That never would have happened back then.
Yeah.
We've got,
Comic-Con,
everything. Geek culture is huge. Kids are allowed to be themselves in a way that we weren't.
Yeah.
And I love that for them. When you got to this point, before you went to New York, did that change how you were able to kind of receive New York?
Well, they say that, like, I don't know what the saying is, but it's basically like, things come to you when you're ready for them. right? They might come to you, you're not ready for them, so you don't even see that they're there, right? So the fact that this happened, and then I go to New York and I meet Blanca, who like just blows my mind with like politics and like, you know, introduces me to zines and all that shit. You know, it's like, yeah, I was ready for that. You know, maybe prior to, maybe at a different point in my evolution, I would have been like, you know, still thinking it was funny to call girls bitches and whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and you know, and I think that like, that's like, when I think about all the different people I've met throughout my lifetime who challenge me to like think beyond, you know, for example, Martine, whose band is playing tonight, like when in the 90s when I was like seeing Crudos, I remember walking with this white girl after a show and she's just like, why do they speak in Spanish? They would like, you know, and I was just...
I hate her.
And, you know, and she wasn't like some dumb Karen. Like she
was genuinely confused.
She was just like, they would really reach people if they spoke in English, you know? And I'm just like, maybe they're not trying to reach you or me. You know what I'm saying? But it's having those experiences that like, I think that when I said that to her, it was like it was one of these kind of Blanca moments for her where she was like, oh, it's not about me, you know? And
yeah,
that's what I'm hoping, you know, I mean, that everyone in this room is here for that experience, you know, or has had that experience, and that's why they're here, you know? So, I mean, that's the beautiful, I'm going into a love of punk rock chant, so rant. So.
Well, I mean, we're all here because of our love of punk rock, and we've got 3 amazing bands that are about to play. But before they do, I want to make sure that everybody knows how they can get their hands on this book. There are books available to order at the merch table out in the front room.
We can say, okay, hold on real quick.
Oh, yeah, no, go ahead.
So last I looked, there's like 7 copies over there. If you don't get one, 2 things can happen. You can order one from the bookseller or whoever. Like, let me know, and they'll ship it to you for free. But let me know, and I'll give you some my zine, or I'll give you something so that it's like, you know.
You're not leaving empty-handed.
Yeah, because we were supposed to have more books, and they just didn't arrive. You know, blame it on the U.S. mail or
supply chain issues.
Rain.
I've been blaming everything on supply chain issues.
Whatever it is, it's not happening. But there are a few here, so grab them. And what else?
I think that's all the info that y'all need, besides the fact that this is going to be a fucking awesome show.
Yeah, I'm really stoked. So thankful to Chicago Humanities and Empty Bottle for bringing me out and supporting me and helping me, like letting me put this show together, so it's rad. And also, over at the merch table, I have a bunch of like prints and stuff from the book. These are things that like are only available in person, so if you're so inclined, feel free to talk to me about grabbing one. And
also, if you're in the greater Los Angeles area and need a tattoo done by a great tattoo artist, James Spooner is the
I do
guy.
tattoos as well.
Just trying to get you paid, young buck. All right. We've got some great music coming up for you. Thank you once again to the Chicago Humanities Festival, the Empty Bottle, and each and every one of you. Let's open up this pit.